But now I realize what's going on. Why is there so much infighting on the left? You know, what's up with the circular firing squads? It's not infighting on the left. It's just a firing squad. It's not a circular firing squad where everybody's like doing the infighting. It's all the fighting is coming from one group of people who are trying to destroy the other group of people. Like leftists have zero desire, the big ones have zero desire to integrate liberals or Democrats into their movement. They want to destroy the democratic movement and then replace it with a revolutionary one.
Conflict resolution also requires a level of forgiveness. Hey, maybe, you know, one day maybe you and Hassan will be friends again.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not, but... Hello?
Oh, hey, it's Reason Riffs.
Yeah, I can tell by the annoying fucking Euro voice. What's up?
Oh, come on. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Wait, do you guys have... Wait, what? Are you from Germany?
Okay, I'm from the UK originally.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm not that bad. You know, I'm halfway to America, right?
You know what's really weird? I'm saying this to your biker. I don't know if you know this or not. Americans don't ride bikes in the winter. We don't think it's possible. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen them. Maybe it's Canadians that are crazy enough to do it. I'm sure I've seen videos of some of you guys. Right?
Well, in Scandinavia, apparently it's really common. Like in Copenhagen and up in I guess they're like Sweden shit. People ride their bikes year round. And I don't know if I said a comment to Melina or something, and I ended up looking at YouTube videos, and I was like, yeah, apparently it's all in America. We just don't think that you can ride bicycles in the wintertime, but everybody else is apparently able to do it. I don't know. It's crazy. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my father doesn't even drive a car. He was cycling to work every day of his working life, and it was through the snow and stuff. So, I mean, I was brought up in a bit of a crazy family in that regards. But a lot of people don't even ride bikes in the warmer weather. So
okay, you were from the UK though, right? When did you guys get cars? It was like 80s, 90s. So I mean, depending on your age.
No, most people are still using horse and cart. You know,
yeah.
There's pack donkeys and stuff. No.
That's for all the. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah. What's up? How's it going?
Yeah.
You rode around for a bit, right?
Yeah. I was away for like 3 weeks in total. So part of the ride I made into this fundraiser. And firstly, I'm really appreciative to the DGGers who donated. In fact, the donations are still open until the beginning of next week if anyone else wants to donate. So it turned out to be 4 days to Rotterdam.
Wait, can you, let's assume that we don't know who you are, world famous Reason Riffs. Where do people donate at?
Okay, that's a point. Maybe if I send you the link.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've done fundraisers before. Actually, I've done. If it means anything to anyone, I've fundraised for hospitals in Palestine before. And actually, I went to look at the charities at the moment, and it's just so many charities are compromised by Hamas. They don't intend it, but they get messed around. This stuff doesn't get to the people that need it. So I realized it wasn't really worth fundraising for Palestine this time. And at the same time, I mean, what's going on in Ukraine is just horrific.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to Ukraine by bike. So I've done a lot of like world cycling, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's been quite hurtful to see what's happened, and people put it into statistics and, you know, this historical nonsense in terms of who owns what and justifying it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was an important thing to do. So I've raised money for a charity called United 24. They're the charity that's linked with the Ukrainian government. They've been vetted a few times in terms of how they spend their money, and they look really, really good. And a lot of the projects are about homemade stuff that's made within Ukraine and Ukrainian factories. So it's from mine clearance to air defense to ambulances.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a really good charity to donate, to get fundraised for. So I rode from Halle, it's near to Leipzig in East Germany, to Rotterdam. And I did just over 160 kilometers a day for 4 days in the end.
Okay.
And with headwinds every day, which, it's the way it goes.
Does that matter when you ride a bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, you're into science. You've got a good feeling for it. I remember this from our previous.
Yeah, I know that like when the wind blows against you, it slows you down. I'm aware of that. Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's geometric, right? So if you go to, it's a bit like you remember the inverse square law, right? It's a similar thing with wind resistance. So you go twice as fast, but it's 4 times the amount of power you need to negate the wind resistance at that point.
Okay.
So it's a lot of similarities in regards to this. So with running, it's not like that because it's not such a small difference. Like in speed, relative speed with the wind. Like wind resistance isn't a big factor when it comes to running. So with cycling, you check the wind. It's especially if you can change when you ride. You check when the wind's heaviest, like it's at the beginning of the day, end of the day, and you make the most of that time. It's a bit like a sailing boat, I guess, in some ways as well.
So have you ever played the game Valheim?
I had a housemate that played that.
I don't know why, but I learned it for this stupid game because they tried to do realistic wind mechanics or whatever dumb shit. But apparently, the wind at your sails or whatever, the wind behind you is like one of the worst ways to have the wind in terms of going fast. I don't know if it's the same with bikes, but apparently with ships, like having the wind coming at you is at like a 90-degree angle allows you to, the way that you angle your sails and cut against it. I don't remember the explanation, but that allows you to move quicker going forward than if it was just blowing behind you. I don't remember why or how. Does that make sense what I'm saying there? Or
well, I'm not a sailor, so and maybe it's something to do with instability in the boat. I'm not too sure for boating. But for cycling, that's not the case. Actually, when it's on your back, it's a good feeling. Because then, for example, on the way back, I was averaging long stretches for like 35k an hour. And I mean, I had my work laptop. I had to do some home office when I was away. And I had my tent. So you saw some of the pictures of I was doing this. I wasn't staying in hotels every night, but I did when I got to Rotterdam. So I had to carry all my stuff and my food and that kind of thing. So it's not just like going on my racing bike.
Yeah.
But when the wind's on my back, it's a really beautiful feeling.
Oh, that's cool.
Because then you fly. So after that, I went to the UK. I went back to my parents because from Rotterdam I could get the boat. And then I cycled a bit of a longer way back. So over some of the kind of lowish mountains, so like up to 1,000 meters, but the roads go up to like 500, 600 meters. And yeah, that's kind of where I've been over the summer. And it's the first longish trip I've done for a few years. So yeah, I was kind of out of the loop, and then Kafka kind of updated me on the goings on and the mudslinging and
me being a pedophile and everything now based. Retroactively a pedophile, I guess technically, but yeah,
Well. It's such a smear. I mean, it's no fun and games, right? I mean, it can cause people can get death threats and stuff from stuff like that.
Yeah,
I just don't understand. Yeah. From a guy who pertains to be, to have had, his personal life affected, you'd think he would be a little bit more careful. I'm talking about Ethan here.
One of the things that just sucks so much about the online space, and I've said this a lot, and I hate that I guess it took me a long time in life to realize this. No, I don't hate it because it's been a fun ride along the way. But the pressures that exist in online friendships, I've even talked about these in the past, but I just didn't realize how crazy they were compared to just ordinary people. Like, it sounds so weird, but like when I'm talking to like a normal human being, I don't even have to think about, okay, like I need to be careful what I say to this person because I know they're friend groups with this person. And if this person makes a video and a thing that this person leaks about this here, then it's gonna I don't like with normal people. I just have conversations with people and talk to people and share stuff. And I don't have to worry about like YouTube videos showing up of like log leaks because they're just like ordinary ass people. And then like the primary would be them getting mad at me. The secondary is like videos, and the tertiary stuff is all of the who's going to pressure them for what thing. Like these dynamics just don't exist with ordinary human beings in real life. And it's so cancerous and toxic for online relationships that like, not to make excuses. Like I think obviously I would say Ethan made a mistake. I think we've all course corrected now, which is good. But yeah, it's so annoying and horrible and atrocious online. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the lack of trust, and also in the meantime, it's just destroying our side of politics. It's preventing the discussion. It's making us look petty. It's losing trust in individuals. So now everyone's got some loss of respect from certain people. And in the meantime, on the right, there's that unified stance, right? And because Ethan, he may not be like say he's a political streamer, but he has streamed about politics, right? I mean, political issues. It's kind of hard not to. So, I mean, if he wants to be taken seriously on any of his points, or to be frank, as a thoughtful human being, which I know he can be,
yeah,
then perhaps he needs to try and be the thoughtful human being that we know he can be and we've seen before. But we all make mistakes. So I mean, to be fair to Ethan, like if things calm down and he changes course, and personally I would still pay attention to him. But yeah, I feel bad for you. I know you say it doesn't get to you, but you're a human being, and I probably project a bit sometimes when I try and ask how people are and say, I can understand that, but I don't know if I can understand that that level of smearing. And of course, because you're known, that's a lot of people coming at you at once with false allegations and the Chinese whispers that go on. I mean, we've all seen it. And
wait, the Chinese whispers?
Yeah, I mean, like one person hears one thing, and then they make it into something bigger, and then they make it into something bigger. I mean, Ethan was doing that live, right?
I'm sorry, that's got to be like a non-English expression or something. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Okay, it doesn't sound very.
And I think we call it a game of telephone or whatever, but I know what you mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what you guys call it. I mean, we've got the non-PC version, I guess, to call it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. This game
Chinese whispers. I'm sorry, that's all good. All right, sorry, my bad. No, it's I think the most annoying part about all of it, and I feel this, I've said this a lot, I'll continue to say this, I don't know how long you've watched my content for, but 9 years ago, the thing was people were saying like real life is not like Twitter, right? The online world is not the real world, touch grass, but we've fully smashed those two worlds together such that, and I say this and it's not a joke, like you analyze Trump as like an influencer and it gives you better insight into how the political scene is developing across the world as opposed to trying to analyze things like normal politics. And one like shared thing that's happening now, like on the conservative side, the goal is to have the best story, and that's it. That's the only thing that matters. And there's little to no regard for the fact, or more so like how at least can we make the facts like work for our story such that can we ignore some, can we ignore some or whatever. And then you're in this world where you're basically just kind of arguing over like every political fight is who would win, like Vegito or Gogeta, and that's it. They're not even like real things. So like when I watch, like the thing that bothered me the most about Ethan making that video is I don't think that Ethan thinks I'm a pedophile. I don't think that's the case. Especially with everything that came out for his background. There's no way that he thinks that. I don't think he's a pedophile, right? So it's just when people want to stand, or same thing with all of these, like the fat Oreo guy or Queefman or Justical soon to be murdered by Cherry, like all these people, when they say this, like, I don't think they actually believe any of it. It's all just like a fight, a battle of the narratives and stories. It's like, this feels so stupid, or it's just so not what I signed up for. Like I have significantly less interest in that than like yesterday, like going through like Form 990Fs and figuring out like how tax structures work to see if this, dark money company is funding something. Like these things are just more fun for me. Yeah. So that's the fakeness of it all is I think the thing that annoys me the most. And the fact that I don't know if viewers or like observers are aware of how fake it all is. I don't know if you were watching my stream earlier when I was looking at Hasan talking to that lady about Palestine and everything. That guy talks about Palestine every day. Hold on. Quiz. Are you ready? Do you care at all about Israel-Palestine?
Yeah, I mean, we should do.
Okay, I'm gonna quiz you a little bit. One quiz question, okay? Don't feel bad if you don't know. Okay, I'm just curious. Do you know what the Western Wall is, or the Wailing Wall is?
I mean, it's one of the most sacred places for Jewish people to go and pray.
Do you know why it's sacred?
Because the wall cries. I don't know the full details of stuff.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, close. Okay, that's all good. That's the I believe, according to Jews, that's supposed to be the remnants of the last remaining remnants of the Second Temple. It was like a wall inside of the temple, supposedly. Now, Muslims deny this. I watched Ethan watch it again, and then I was watching like a week ago. Hasan didn't know anything about the Western Wall. He had no idea what it was. And that is impossible to me. For this guy to have been obsessing over Israel-Palestine for at least the last 2 years, to not know what that is the equivalent of me, being a German history buff and not knowing the country was divided after World War II, or not knowing what Berlin is, or not knowing that like Link is the name of the main character in Zelda and it's not Zelda. Like, it's just an unbelievable thing. So yeah, sorry, I just rambled over time, but yeah, I hate the fakeness of it all. It feels so stupid to me.
I mean, okay, I'm defending myself here, but even if you don't know the exact history, you know that is seriously sacred to a lot of people. And
sure.
It's not about rationalizing.
Hold on, just real quick. I wasn't attacking you. The fact that I don't think that you profess to be like a expert on Israel-Palestine, but Hasan professes to be an expert on it. It's the only thing he's done for his content for like the past like several months, and he's obsessed with it for 2 years. It was crazy we didn't know that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But I think to be fair, even to be fair to Hasan and to your point, like I have quite strong opinions on it, but there are some holes in my knowledge there.
Sure.
And so you should then kind of temper your opinion and say, oh, okay, well, if there's some holes in my knowledge, I should have a little bit more self-doubt than Hasan clearly does. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but I got banned from his chat one time. Because I was spamming his chat with evidence, mainly from Amnesty International, about how Hamas treats Palestinians. This is the key point here. It's not just about, of course, how Hamas treats Israelis, and especially of October the 7th. That was just crazy and unimaginable. But it's also the history of how Hamas has treated, especially the opposition. The opposition are in prison mostly.
Maybe, or they just get killed.
Well, I'm just referring to what Amnesty International has, and I respect it. And so I was copying and pasting this into his chat, and then I'm really terrible with names, but I had the name to hand when he actually started. You know how he does this? He brought the chat window up with what I was saying to him.
Ooh, and you got spotlighted.
Yeah, but I thought, cool. I said to him afterwards, towards the end of our conversation, if you want to call it that I respected him for replying to me, right? And the first thing he said to me, he clearly got a message from the mods. He said, "Oh no, don't ban him. Let's basically have this conversation." So he gained a little bit of my respect when he did this. And I was like saying that there are other Palestinians you could look at for Palestinian leadership other than Hamas. Why is it that you defend Hamas as the kind of the defenders? Like, yeah, but who? And then there was one guy that was quite an interesting figure among Palestinians. He was imprisoned by the Israelis. It's kind of grey and questionable as to why and the details of his case.
You're talking about Barghouti, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so I'm just saying that at least there are other alternatives. It's a bit ambiguous as to who you should support as leading the Palestinians as the kind of Mandela figure we would want for the Palestinians, right? Because it doesn't exist now. And he seemed really pissed off that that I had actually found an answer to the question that he thought was unanswerable. And then made the point, and I made the point, like, I've raised money for Palestine. It's not something, Palestine, for Palestinian hospitals. And then I said, how much have you done? And that was when he got banned from Twitch shortly after this. When he started making threats against some politician, right, like death threats.
Mike,
and then he got banned.
Fuck, who was it? I know. Yeah, I remember. It was when he quote tweeted with the gun that killed Shinzo Abe or whatever, right?
Yeah, and 20 minutes later, he went on this rant. So he stayed raged from this conversation.
Yeah.
And then he permabanned me from his channel. And that actually motivated me to be honest, to watch you a little bit more and saying, right, I need to. Like you've emphasized, I was in like social media, the precursor to this, like the Yahoo chat days, right? Like at the end of the 90s, 2000s, I was a proper geek, playing the first proper online games, all that kind of stuff. And I got really into that kind of thing. And then I completely left it for 10, 15 years. I didn't even have a proper phone until a few years ago. But like you've emphasized, and it's so important, and I think we just can't ignore this now, even though it's not the nicest, greatest thing. Like, social media is the kernel of a lot of social discourse and a lot of political discourse.
Yeah.
And
one of the things,
we have to work with it.
One of the things I've said this for years now, going through the red pill space as well, because nobody wants to talk about this because it's not partisan, but the internet has like severely changed the way that we communicate with everybody on the planet and the way that we live our lives in ways that are just so hard to quantify, but like so dramatic in terms of reaching into every single part of our life. But it's like you can't like sell feminism or red pill or you can't sell it on that because everybody has something to gain and everybody has something to lose when it comes to internet related stuff. So nobody really talks about it that much. I guess except some psychologists, yeah.
You kind of have to. It's a bit like a game of chess, right? You have to think a few moves ahead as to what the position that you're going to find yourself in. And try and push in that direction, and also the people that you're trying to appeal to, you may have to try and appeal in ways that it's not directly giving the argument all the time, but it's kind of there's the emotive side of it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning and trying to get back in there to some extent, and it's also interesting to see how you've morphed over time, and I noticed the other day when you were looking at your old self, I don't like to hear my younger voice. And that's the other crazy thing about your situation. Like so much of your life is just stuck on a timeline. So many words said. And it's like the idea that anything could be misconstrued from, 10, 15 years ago. That's so much pressure. And that needs to be respected especially from normies like myself or offline people, if we want to call us. That is such a spotlight, and it's something I think it needs to be respected, that because we've all said things that it wasn't said in the best way or could easily be clipped in the wrong way, and it's people forget that and then become hypocrites, I think.
No, I don't disagree, but again, it comes down to like, what are the purposes when people are saying things? Like, what do you even want to get out of some piece of communication? Like, I brought up that Brian Beard brings up that Mia Rose thing, and then Ethan brings it up, and like, this is horrible. It's like, okay, well, if you go back, I think it was a bad thing. I think I said it was a bad thing, and then like, I've apologized and talked to Mia. We're cool. Like, what else am I possibly supposed to do about this event that happened 14 years ago? Like, what is the purpose of bringing it up over and over again? But everything is just driven to effect some end, and like, your facts and all these are like checkers or chess pieces that are in service to the game, and they're not actually that important in and of themselves. Like, they can morph and change to whatever suits whatever narrative, and it's just very boring, I think.
I mean, it's not a question of being boring or not. It's I mean, it needs that kind of analysis and understanding of how people respond, and I mean, it's going forward. Everyone just needs to be a little bit conscious of how things can be construed later on. It makes us, I guess, all of us a little bit paranoid, because you never know what position you may be in the future.
Maybe. I disagree with this. I've actually moved a little bit off of this position now. When I look at a lot of these things now, I had to reframe a lot when I was looking at Aaron fighting with Pisco yesterday. I think that the analysis, because people have the capacity to understand these things, and people will understand these things. I think that you just have to shift people into like, stop just being a hater, or stop being so intentionally like malevolent or bad faith with your analyses on things. I did a formal yesterday morning. I said I was moving past Ethan stuff, so I'm not trying to drag on him or anything. But like, it was very interesting seeing all of the people, because I watched his subreddit initially. I think the responses in the very beginning when he made the piece on me, I think were good, but I think it's because my community was heavily involved. Then I think his community woke up more, plus AB was moderating for his life, banning every pro-Destiny person in that sub. Then Ethan made his longer video of me, and then the sub got harshly against me. And all the comments were basically more along the lines of like, and I think even Ethan himself said in one video, like, normal people don't make jokes like this, or these comments are like horrible. Like, why would anybody ever say this? And then obviously when I did my response after digging for some, I'm like, okay, well, if that's the standard, you said some wild stuff. And then, but then instead of the community being like, okay, maybe we should apply an even standard or what's going on, I saw so many people who are like, well, these are edgy jokes from a long time ago. These don't represent who you are now. The internet used to be a really edgy place. And these are things that I say. So it's like the thoughts are in the head. They know these things. It's like the political stuff that brings it out sometimes, like, have you ever heard of like DNA isn't like really the master of anything? It's really the RNA, right? Like transcription factors and how stuff gets read. Like, everybody has the DNA in there. It's just a matter of like what's getting transcribed at any point in time. Like, what part of you are you actually activating? It's not like you lack it or you have to learn it. You just have to like deploy it at the appropriate times,
I mean, it's in a sense, and people don't want to admit this, and we all can do this, but it's the emotive part of not the way we think, but the way we decide and conclude things overriding us. I mean, of course, there's a sense of loyalty going on here as well. There's these, tribes, these communities, and people want that their community and their tribe is just and fair. But the funny thing was, I found a lot of people, they seem to, I don't know if it was intentional, it must have been intentional, but misunderstanding your point. Your point was bringing up these edgy jokes and saying, look, Ethan made these edgy jokes, but that doesn't mean to say that he's a pedophile, right? That was the kind of key point that you
kind
were
of, yeah.
making.
Although
And
again, this is why I'm saying I backed off that point, especially because Ethan's community proves to me so strongly. There were a lot of people in his community, although maybe my community was upvoting, who were saying like, well, hold on, I don't think Destiny is trying to attack Ethan for this. Destiny's just saying, hey, I think that I think that, if we're going to go digging through edgy jokes, like both of us could play this game. Edgy jokes are like, I think a lot of people understood that in his community. I think a ton. And I think anybody that looks at it at first glance will understand immediately what's going on, especially because I was careful when I phrased those tweets. Like people think that when I added the thing, because I edited the tweet to be even more extreme, saying that Elu was like a genocidal night raider or whatever. And people were like, oh my God, he's going even harder. It wasn't really necessarily that I was going harder. Like I was going harder, but I was making it even more clear that like, okay, well, this is just going to be a satire basically of all of the crazy unhinged farmer sucker shit that gets thrown at you. Like surely you see the link. And actually, I think most of the people in this sub got that like basically immediately because I saw that popping up a ton, But people pretend that like they couldn't understand. And even my community gets lost like, oh, people won't understand the satire. They do. They know exactly what's going on. When I make fun of the dead fucking kids in Texas, or when I make fun of the guy getting shot at the Trump ally, like people, the problem is the other side virtue signals over it, but then our side, I don't even mean the left or right, but like my community sometimes will fall for it. We're like, oh no, like you don't understand the optics. No. They're making you buy into their optics. They know what's going on. They don't give a fuck, right? It's the same thing that's happening right now with Gavin Newsom and the Twitter account where all the conservatives are like, I can't believe he would dare tweet like this. Like this is unbecoming of an adult male. And it's like, oh, okay, you know what's going on, right?
I think it might be true of some of people that watch H3, but when it comes to the right on politics, a lot of people really lack a sense of humor. And some of the points you're making through humor, right? Like this dramatic irony. Like the whole thing about if they had VPN. I thought it was a hilarious tweet. But then clearly people were like, I think Piers Morgan as well. I don't know, intentionally or unintentionally. I'm sure he's got a sense of humor, but that made me doubt it because I think they seem pretty sincere, but they must be A+ actors.
If you're an American, you've been probably.
I think a lot of. Sorry. And on the right, I do doubt people's ability to have a sense of humor, which means they don't see your irony sometimes. But I don't know about the Ethan crowd. I assume that they've got a bit more of a sense of humor and they can understand, that you're making an ironic comment, and you of course you exaggerate and make it extreme to make a point that is a joke, right? But with something serious behind it. But I mean, do you think basically this is all part of cancel culture, right? And this way of just making things very black and white and extreme. But do you think it's getting worse or better or changing over time? Or do you think people are maturing in terms of understanding these narratives?
I think it's getting... Well, cancel culture is an interesting phrase because cancel culture implies stuff that's revolving around like social justice warrior or woke issues. I understand what you're saying, but I wouldn't use the term cancel culture to describe what the right does today, although it is cancel culture. But I just wouldn't use it because it's got such a heavy political bend. But that type of like black and white parsing of reality is I don't know. My current mind state means that I necessarily have to believe that things in the long term are trending better. So hopefully it is getting better in the long term. Maybe we have a bit of a road bump right now or a speed bump right now or bumpy road or whatever, and then eventually it'll improve. I think it sounds like a tit for tat, and you know what it is. I don't think there's anything wrong for tit for tat. We just have to start doing it to them a lot more and a lot more blatantly until people realize like, oh shit, this feels bad. Like I'm joking about it a little bit, but I'm also being very serious when I point out like Asmongold saying I can't make this joke because Destiny's gonna rail me for it. That is a good thing. That's an effective thing. It's important to see people say stuff like that. And I think that we don't say maybe no, we do with Gavin Newsom's account. I don't know. I'd have to go through and check. I think Trump actually stopped spamming caps because so many people have started talking about Gavin Newsom and they're like, oh, Gavin Newsom's crazy. Why is he doing this? Whatever. I think Trump no longer uses caps lock on his truths, that's an improvement, right? And I think that when you engage in that a little bit more, like this is very much like I would say this is kind of bad parenting, depending on how aggressive you get with it. But like when a kid smacks another kid and then you smack the kid and you're like, it doesn't feel good, right? Like, why would you do this to another kid? Stop doing this. It's not good. When somebody understands, because sometimes people don't maybe understand emotionally, like how it feels, or they don't understand what's going on. And then when it happens to them, like, ooh, this is really bad. Okay, fuck it. I don't want this to happen to me anymore. Like that's how you get people pretty interested in things, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we have to be pragmatic with our methodology because, you could have continued to do that with in the Ethan case. And the point you've done here is to do almost the opposite of saying, I'm not going to accelerate this, to emphasize that it's been accelerating. So I think, and I think it's a really sensible strategy. And I think it's important. One thing I'm trying to do really hard is I'm trying to anchor everything as a response. That's why when I said yesterday,
or yesterday, I think, the day before. My days are bleeding together so much. But like, listen, if Ethan's done responding, I'm done responding. Okay, I'm good. That's it. But if he continues to respond, like I will say, I'm only doing this because he said this. I'm only doing this because he said this. Like I think anchoring your unhingedness in their initial actions is really important, so that it's harder for other people to kind of like pretend that this is coming out of nowhere. And I think a lot of people see it. It's just hard to see the people that see it because they're not usually the ones commenting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you have to leave some space there, but it's basically like you have to pick and choose a strategy for the moment. But I think it makes sense not to do either single strategy in terms of, being more moderate, stepping back, or being a bit more reflection and tit for tat. I think it really is about reading the moment. Sure. I mean, maybe I've emphasized this before, but in game theory, like tit for tat is one of the most effective strategies.
Yeah.
That's in a simplified model, so we shouldn't lack the complexity of how things work. And it goes back to the black and whiteness thing, which is kind of ironic, right? The strategy itself shouldn't be too black and white. There is nuance sometimes, and there's an opening where you can see, okay, I can build a bridge, we can put things behind us. Mm-hmm. If you look at conflict resolution, it's part of conflict resolution, right? So we can learn from previous conflicts. And one conflict I point to, maybe it's coming from the UK, but it's what happened in Ireland. And in the end, there was a crazy level of forgiveness, right? There were convicted murderers who were let free as part of the the peace treaty in Northern Ireland, and it worked, right? And in the end, it's about ends. So sometimes strategies involve a lot of forgiveness, and if you ignore that and then just let it escalate and play the tit for tat thing, then it would just go on ad infinitum. So at some point, conflict resolution also requires a level of forgiveness. Hey, maybe one day maybe you and Hasan will be friends again.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not, but
unlikely. But yeah.
I can be friends with anybody as long as they just have to not lie about me publicly, and they have to acknowledge they've lied about me publicly. That's it. The most likely that would ever happen would be maybe Vosh. Hasan will never be that person because Hasan he's fundamentally a different. I consider Hasan a terrorist. His goals and mine are so far removed from each other that it would require a dramatic life change from him. Yeah.
Because like you emphasized, I've been watching your content for probably about a year at most at this point. Mm-hmm. But then I've kind of caught up and I've seen some stuff in the history in the past. And it's kind of sad, like how, Hasan seemed like a normal, nice human being at one point, and then became this egotistical maniac. Sorry, that's how I see him. He's a terrorist sympathizer. The shortest thing I see in him is just this crazy ego.
Yeah, a little bit. For some reason, I wonder if there's maybe there's a draw to socialism or socialist types, because it does seem exceedingly rare that, well, not rare actually, I guess never, that some socialist utopia can emerge from the revolutionary vanguard state that doesn't wind up in just pure authoritarianism. I feel like, I say this cautiously without having doing much research, but it's one of the reasons why that Che Guevara guy was so cool. Is because he genuinely was committed to the revolution, and that guy would go fight, help people overthrow some country or whatever, and then he would be offered leadership positions or positions in government, and he would just say nah, fuck it, I'm gonna go fight somewhere else now, and he would just do that until he got killed in fucking Venezuela or some shit, South America somewhere. I don't remember. Yeah, but it seems like it. Yeah, maybe it just draws a certain type of people. Maybe it was Bolivia. Yeah, Bolivia, Venezuela, same shit. South America is all the same to me. Yeah, it just draws a certain type of people, maybe. I don't know.
I'm going to have to kind of push back a little bit on that, because before my trip, I wanted to come on stream and talk about socialism. Okay. Partly because of the ambiguities of socialism and the different branches that formed. So, what Hasan seems to be ascribing to is the Marxist definition of socialism, which is actually a Kono boy, as well-intentioned as I think he is or was. We could maybe say no. He was also going towards a little bit more of an extreme form of socialism, where the ends really are basically full state ownership. And so you have that form, but at the end of the 19th century, you had a guy called, this is going to test my memory, Edward Bernstein. I can pronounce the name given my German experience. He's one of the founding fathers of the SPD, the left-wing party in Germany, which still has the word socialist in its name. And he was basically a lot more pragmatic. And he said there are no ends here. And we need, he was really a proponent of the mixed economy, where you had private, you had state, you had cooperatives, you had a whole mix of things going on. So it was more of a general idea, socialism, as opposed to this being very staunch, kind of almost like Plato form notion of socialism, where you end as a kind of perfect utopic system. He was a lot more pragmatic.
Yeah, one of the weird things I was saying real fast is that, like, in America, we have a hardcore definition. It was used to be the opposite, I feel like, but in America, our definition of socialism for the leftists is like they abolish all capital. And in Europe, broadly, it feels like socialism is actually what like Democrats thought socialism was, or Republicans say it was like 20 years ago, which is like expanded welfare states, basically.
Well, I think that's an evolution, and I think in Europe we're also suffering the same problem. That people are calling themselves socialists, but they also, and sometimes communists, which I find kind of disgusting. When I live in East Germany, my wife's family are had to live under communism, so I have a feeling for what that actually means. Sadly, they don't seem to.
Oh yeah, because you're near Leipzig?
That's right, yeah.
Which is in East Germany. I think I've been there before for a gaming event or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. When we first spoke, you mentioned, I think my housemate's probably at the same event. And if you ever go back, you should go to the Stasi Museum, the secret police museum of Leipzig, or Berlin has one too, and people can see actually how horrific it really was to live under a dictatorship like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think there's an evolution, especially among young left-leaning people who call themselves socialists, that they are going to this almost Marxist form of socialism again, which is ignoring basically 100 years of evolution of the strongest branch of socialism that eventually led to all the left-wing parties in Europe. So I think the evolutionary socialism is the branch of socialism which led to these parties. And even people like Tony Blair would say, oh yeah, I'm of this type of socialism. And he'd call himself socialist until fairly recently, and it referred to that branch of socialism. So it's the same thing with my father. I was brought up in a household where people would call themselves socialists, but what they meant was this form, as opposed to this Marxist socialism. So, and there's still people out there, I think, probably calling themselves socialists in this regard, or even Econoboy, who thinks it's some kind of platonic form of socialism, but realistically it will never happen. So I think we have to give these people a lot more space, and also include them in our movements. Those types of socialists, and if they want to call themselves socialists, then so be it. It's an incredibly vague term.
Well, the issue that I have, maybe if I was European or in a different space, I would feel differently. The problem that I have, though, is that it's like if I lived in, let's say in Australia, let's say there was like no formal definition, or people weren't really fascist much, and then let's say that there came like a new group and they wanted to advocate for just like a stronger Australia that like took care of its country more, and even expanded the welfare state or whatever else, and wanted to do onshore some more production, and they called themselves like fascists, right? And let's say, I know that Australia, I'm sure, understands fascism, but let's say there wasn't a strong understanding, and people are like, oh, well, fine, we can just call ourselves fascists, like it's okay, like we can take back the word or whatever. I'd say like, okay, fine, whatever, that's okay. But if you started to get infiltrated by a whole bunch of real fascists who were also like, oh yeah, I'm fascist too, I just want this thing, but that under the hood these guys are, they want expulsion of all non-white people, or they've got some ethno-supremacist weird shit going on, then you feel a lot differently about the other people using fascists, especially if the nice fascists are making excuses for or breaking bread with the bad fascists. So like this was my big problem, is that like if in a world full of econo-boys, I don't think I would care if I was allied with people who call themselves socialists like Econo-boy does. But the problem is a whole bunch of ML types, like the Aaron girl, like her trying to sneak in and saying like, oh, I'm like the same thing kind of like as the Econo-boy, and these people are like MLs. And it's like, it feels not good at that point, because now there's like a weird subversive game being played, where I played this game already, and again from 2016 to 2018, where all the centrists were giving cover to the neo-Nazis, and then I would end up looking unhinged because I would push back on somebody who's like a neo-Nazi, but the centrists were like, well, no, actually I think that guy's just being reasonable, and you're actually far left now. It's like, I don't think it's far left to say that just because Japan has all Japanese people means America should have all white. I think I can push back against that without being crazy, and that's basically my big problem, is that socialists by design are subversive. And when you have one of the largest socialist streamers online, the largest, I guess, Hasan, is like on program saying, my goal is to be subversive. I am trying to be subversive. I'm trying to radicalize people. Yeah, it makes it so like I don't know. Like I said on my stream the other day, like I don't identify as suckdem anymore. I don't even use that term anymore because it's just too weird. There's too much weird shit going on.
Well, I think all isms are a little bit like this, and it ends up being, because ultimately being a bit more pragmatic with your politics and looking at what means works towards what ends is really all we should really be caring about. So I'm pretty against isms in that respect. But in terms of people who have labeled themselves and then how I'm going to judge them, I think your comparison, I mean, it's a bit like the swastika, right? The symbol of the Nazis, which of course
symbol of peace.
Mirrored. Well, yeah, exactly. It's a Hindu symbol, right? But
Yeah.
you can't just say, "Oh, yeah, let's just forget all about that," and then start using it everywhere. Or it'd be like in Germany, people say, "Well, I really like the name Adolf. I know it's got an association, but I'm going to call my kid that because it sounds nice." It's like, you can't ignore the association. So even if people aren't breaking bread and you're not even involved in that group, just a simple misunderstanding that it can lead to. I think it is dangerous, and so that's also why I wouldn't. I mean, there's some forms of socialism, as I described, pretty close to my own politics, and probably pretty close to your own. But I think
possibly,
it makes no sense to.
Like right now, I think this core story, I think has been a really good dividing line. I think people are waking up to it. The issue is we keep running into this thing. Like I just started pieces together actually like 2 days ago. Why is there so much infighting on the left? And I've like developed other words for this, but now I realize what's going on. Why is there so much infighting on the left? What's up with the circular firing squads? It's not infighting on the left. It's just a firing squad because the leftists, the socialist communists, are not part of the democratic movement. It's not a circular firing squad where everybody's like doing the infighting. It's all the fighting is coming from one group of people who are trying to destroy the other group of people. Like leftists have zero desire, the big ones have zero desire to integrate liberals or Democrats into their movement. They want to destroy the democratic movement and then replace it with a revolutionary one. And the Democrats or liberals are trying to like accommodate the socialist communist types, and like you're accommodating a group of people who just want to destroy you. It doesn't make any sense. It makes about as much sense trying to appeal to a hardcore MAGA person as it would be to a communist. And that's why we have this, like if there was a separating line between these things that was better, where people could understand these people are not our friends or they're not in our same political movement, and that line was more clearly understood, then again, I think I'd be more chill with like econoboy types who are like, oh no, I think we're largely aligned. It's like, oh, okay, sure. But these people just serve as like tunnels or funnels for the more radical elements to come in. I think it's not good, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair to Hasan, I mean, even if it's really vague, he does kind of put forward some kind of policy positions, and you can tell he's in my eyes, he's a communist. He's not a socialist, and is this, as you called him, a socialist communist. And so I think we can differentiate among people who are generally under this very vague umbrella of socialism, who to include and not to include in terms of the policy, in terms of as you emphasize, the democratic side of this. They're basically, and they're, I think quite naively, pushing for dictatorship. And I don't think they know, they believe it will be different this time.
Yeah.
They're the ones who say, oh yeah, communism, we can't judge communism based on the Soviet Union or North Korea.
Or Vietnam,
because it just didn't kind of work out that time, but it will do this time.
You can even see the writing on the wall with that, though, because they play subtle rewriting games, right? They're like, oh, no, like the Soviet Union, that wasn't real socialism. But also the Holodomor was an unavoidable accident, and all of these, crimes that happened in the environments actually didn't happen. It was over-exaggerated by capitalists, and all of these, satellite states. Like, you can see the racism. Now, it's hard to tell if it's because he's Turkish or because he's socialist that Hasan has for Eastern Europeans. If you've ever listened to this guy talk about Poles, holy shit. And that racism and that hatred just comes from a Soviet state, because he hates these states because they were ex-satellites that he feels like are betraying the Soviet Union. So they play this game simultaneously where they'll defend the fuck out of a thing and then also say the thing isn't the thing that they were just defending. And I mean,
to be fair, I spent many months in Turkey, and generally it's a country I absolutely love. And one of the reasons I love it is because of the diversity of the country, the cult in terms of foods and music and peoples. And I've had also a diversity of thoughts there. But there are certainly some pretty paranoid, I would quite right-wing nationalistic thinking in Turkey that actually reminded me a little bit of nationalistic thinking in Britain, because both countries are countries that formerly had an empire who have never really got over the fact that they're no longer big countries in that sense. So that kind of sentiment does exist in this kind of old empire thinking, which Hasan probably hates to be associated with. And I'm not going to argue for what his genuine motivations are. But so just to be fair to Turkey, there's also a lot of people with really good politics and very open-minded, and it's a very large country with a very diverse populace. But it's quite easy anyway. Going back to the policy thing, I don't think it's good to judge someone if they call themselves a socialist on its own. I think you have to look at the policies they're pushing forward to, and I think Who was it? Someone was labeling, like, I think Hutch was doing this as well, like looking for like 3 or 4 different key tenets that you support. And one of them was like the being democratic, supporting your institutions, and recognizing importance of institutions. And I would add in there that we're looking to evolve a system, not have a revolution, basically. Because when you look at the history of revolutions, it just can be so damaging. It generally is, and it never really comes out the way that you would expect. Even with the American Revolution, which I remember I mentioned this point
Sure.
a time before, and you brought this up. It's really a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
And our systems are so good. And another key thing is the lack of positivity in our messaging politically.
Yep.
Like the things we've got to lose, the things that are great about our countries, that we should, that the progress, despite all the right-wing governments and nutcases we've had in power, progresses that we've made in our societies, that we risk losing. You know, when people talk about racism in our societies, and it is a problem, but you want to go to Iran and ask how it is to be an Afghani in Iran, for example, or any other country, most other countries in this world. Like we're incredibly accepting societies. And I don't want to get competitive between Europe and America about this, but I think both regions share a lot of inclusiveness and a lot of diversity that is a positive thing as a result of our cultures and our systems. And we should feel a little bit proud about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Protective about that.
Wait, hold on, real quick.
Build.
Or sorry, finish your sentence and build off of.
No, I just said we should be talking about building on this, you know, and growing on this, not just smashing everything down.
In order to do that, though, you have to. You have to be able to recognize the good things you have instead of thinking everything is shit, which I think the left is unfortunately. No, I say the left, I mean even the Democrats complain about that too much. Sorry, real quick. This Lou guy is spamming the fuck out of YouTube chat, saying we won't bring up China. What do you want to bring up about China? I don't understand. Do you think China is contradicting something that's being said here? Limeo, they won't mention China because they know their diet republicanism liberal strategy sucks. That's why the curry lady lost. Who's the curry lady? Kamala Harris? Well, I don't even know what the comment means. Are you talking about China, the country with like 5 times the U.S. population that still trails in terms of GDP and GDP growth compared to the United States? Or are you talking about China, the country that's relied on the strongest consumer base in the world, the American consumer, for the past 30 years for their growth in manufacturing? Or are you talking about China, the country whose biggest like growth in tech have come from places protected from them, like Taiwan, that produces all their microprocessors? Or are you talking about the China that relies on intellectual property they steal from American companies, where everybody in the world goes to study? Are you talking about China, the country that sends its best and brightest students to American universities to study? Which China are you talking about? I don't understand what the fuck you think China does here that is somehow standing in opposition to any of the things that I just said. But okay, sorry, what were you saying? Go ahead.
I mean, I personally would want to live in a country in which, depending on how I'm seen, I might be sterilized and put in some kind of crazy camps, as China has. I mean, to live in a country with that threat, I don't care how much even material wealth I had, even if they became more materially wealthy per capita,
sure.
Which they aren't right now. It's also about, I mean, this is what people mean by freedom, right? This not feeling under threat for who you are, in some benign aspect of who you are, in terms of maybe it's the God you worship or such like, but that individual freedom, if that's under threat, I don't know how people can genuinely be happy. And China, the current Chinese system, that's just never going to be achievable. I wouldn't say that the worst dictatorship system in the world, but that doesn't make it right or good or something that we should seek. Mm-hmm. And I think people also don't differentiate between that. They go, well, you know, everything's bad or all politics is bad. There's a spectrum there. And so, yeah, you can put China, say, oh, it's better than North Korea. And you know, but a lot of the good things about China is because they have let, like, for example, big parts of their economy become freer. Yeah. And so that's a lot of where their strength has come from, not to mention, as you point out, a lot of things that have been stolen. But and to be fair, there are some things about the Chinese system that aren't too bad. And also about planning permission, which is something that you've emphasized about before in terms of housing. I don't entirely agree with you that planning is the big thing that would improve house building and such like, but that's another topic. But that's one thing in which, of course, the Chinese system, you know, because of the being a dictatorship, they can get things through quicker. We could learn to improve our system, though, in that regards, and easily compete.
Sure. Apparently, I need to read it someday. I'll do this. Apparently, Tokyo, Japan has figured out like housing like better than any other country on the planet, or it might be the only country besides China, I guess, that's figured out housing in like a freer way. So I don't know. Someday I'll read about that.
I picked up on one of your streams the other day that you were talking about, well, why can't we just build really tall tower blocks? I mean, there is an issue of like light getting to the ground, and of course, we've got a big building in front of lots of other buildings. Then you're going to just take a lot of natural light away from there. So, I think there is an optimal height for the area of a city. So I think it is good to kind of legislate stuff like that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait, say that last thing again. Hold on. What did you just say?
I think it is good to legislate on like the height of buildings in cities and not just let rip. That doesn't mean everything should be just like suburban sprawl, but like if it's like 5 or 6 stories for a lot of cities, that's kind of an optimal height.
Get this guy the fuck out of here. Wait, where is it like that in Germany? I feel like I saw high rises in a lot of cities that I was in, but maybe I'm only in like the downtown areas, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I live in a building that's like 4 or 5 stories high, and there's this kind of crazy building binge in Germany just before the First World War. And so if you go through Germany, a good chunk of the buildings were just built like in the first 15 years of the last century. And they're all kind of like 5 stories high. They're called Altbau, which means old buildings. But they're all from this time. And they're kind of an optimal height for a lot of cities. So. But it's not suburban sprawl. I mean, we have probably about 40 adults in this building. So, in terms of population density, you can still quadruple the density compared to suburban sprawl with buildings this high. So, there's kind of a balance between the two. But yeah, I'm sure our systems can improve in the ways that maybe China's got an advantage on us. But the good things, I can see people just not appreciating them, and that's the way they get lost. Especially with our rights and our freedoms, and what that means to us, and the ability to be who we are and who we want to be. That's something we should respect a hell of a lot more, especially in Europe where we had, the threat of fascism. I think, and that could be part of a really positive message. I think that's what we all need to learn on the left.
Okay.
Another thing is Case from the writing team wants to come on and talk about the pragmatic papers and what's been in the pragmatic papers. So I'm going to start writing again now that I'm back myself.
Okay. Cool.
If he can jump on, then I'll pass it on to him. I don't know if he's waiting, but
wait, is that guy Morgan?
Yeah. I just know him as Case. Maybe it's Case Morgan or Morgan Case.
Is that so? Wait, is it Case Morgan or Morgan Case, or is that like a random guy in Stream Discourse? Who are you, Morgan Third? Who are you?
Okay, probably is him then. Yeah.
Hello.
Who are you? What do you want?
I might have to read that.
How? It's 2025. What? How can your microphone sound like this? What? Figure it out.
Mic check.
Oh, hey, wow. Oh, you picked it up off the floor from beneath your blankets? Your blanket fort?
Default is the wrong one.
Oh, okay. Well, what's up? Wait, who are you? Are you a writer guy?
Long time viewer. I just had a disagreement about the tit-for-tat stuff.
Oh, okay. Go fast. What is it?
It's basically that, like, we don't have the same win conditions as, like, a lot of the people on the right. We need a little bit more trust in institutions to enact the will that we want.
I disagree.
So,
I think that the right gets to the right plays a game where they say they don't have the same win conditions, but they do. And I would point to things like Ozempic for that. The right will say things like, we don't trust pharmaceuticals, but you better fucking believe that that fucker RFK Jr. is TRT'd out the fucking ass. You better fucking believe all these motherfuckers are on Ozempic and their insulin and all that shit. They say that they don't appreciate it, but they get to say that while simultaneously enjoying all the benefits of it. I think that once society starts to crumble a little bit in these ways, I think that they'll go back to, actually, wait, maybe our cheaper iPhones were actually a nice thing, I think.
you don't think that that's like a part of their calculus for their messaging? Kind of like the break down the government, like, you know,
it is, but it only works while the government is still functioning. God, I'm sure there's like a good analogy somewhere here, like you know, like the frog and the scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
conservatives are like the scorpion if the scorpion's stinger didn't have any poison in it, where they're like, oh, I'm going to sink this shit over and over again. And they keep poking it, but they actually kind of need the frog to swim, and they actually don't want to drown and die. Like, it's like that.
Yeah, they take on some water. You think they'll change course?
I think at some point, yeah. Like for instance, you see Trump do it with the treasury yield inversions. You see it happen with when shit is like actually getting fucked. In some ways, people will be like, okay, fuck, maybe we need to come back a little bit. I think that if it gets bad enough, I think conservatives will. At some point, you can't ignore reality. You know, like the tariff shit, as it starts to kick in more, I think a lot of conservatives are going to be like, maybe this is not that great. Remember, it doesn't have to be half the movement. It doesn't even have to be 20% of the movement. You only need like 2 to 5% to make it unelectable, yeah.
And I agree that I think that they will. I mean, I don't think they're like totally delusional. But it's pretty easy to just kind of have like it's easier to say both sides are the same, and when we're really not the same. It's just like,
sure,
you might be able to eke out like a small victory with the tit for tat, but it's just perilous.
Well, but the nice thing about once we kick out. I love your reason. Once we kick out all the socialists and communists from our movement, it becomes easier to disregard that both sides are the same messaging. Both sides are the same sounds really bad when one of the sides is saying it. Both sides are the same is much more expected when it's a person who's not part of either team. And socialists and communists are not part of our team. So when they're out there saying, oh, both these motherfuckers are the same, yeah, of course we are, because we're not you, right? That makes more sense. So I think that the quicker we kick those people out, I think Taylor's article hopefully is helping with this now.
Yeah. I was thinking of like the more like the truly like normie, like, oh, I don't know, fuck all of them, like not tanky types.
Like just kind of like hopeless Democrats or whatever who are like, oh, everything's fucked or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that goes back to what Reason was saying, is that we need to just be more positive in our messaging, I think.
Yeah,
exactly. It's about vision. Yeah.
Pretty much it. All right. Well, that was the main point.
Okay. What do you want, Blank? Who are you?
Hi. I'm here to tell you to add the cinema emote on YouTube chat. Okay, add some new emotes.
French fuck. Disgusting. Whoever the YouTube mods are, we literally have a chat. Learn accents, bro. That was clearly Italian. What is that like the same shit? Okay, right?